One of the people crowdfunding for a brand new documentary about Danny is Mark Baxter. Hello and welcome to the show, Mark.
Hello, Jake. How are you? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, well, tell me all about this documentary. What you're crowdfunding right now to raise money for a documentary on the legend that is Danny Thompson.
Yeah, we. I work for a company called Monomedia Films, and we're based in London. And we have made quite a few films over the last 10, 15 years. One being on a guy called Tubby Hayes, a jazz saxophonist from the 50s to the 60s, 70s. And I was always intrigued that Danny played with Tubby when Danny was 16. I always remember that reading about because I knew Danny's work with Nick Drake and Pentangle and John Martins. I was always intrigued, and I had the fortunate situation to meet Danny at Paul Weller's studio. I think it was 2018, 2019, and we started speaking, and he had exactly the same voice as I've got. He's out of Battersea, South West London. I'm South East London, and we sort of bonded on his voice. You never hear anymore. Very rarely hear his sort of tone anymore. So we just started talking. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. And I said, I would love to write a book about you or make a film about you. And he was like, no, 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 not really my thing. And I then said, well, I made a film on Tubby Hayes. And he was like, wow, that really hit him hard because he loved Tubby. So I sent him a copy of the film. He loved the film. It took about a year for him to get back and say, all right, son, make one on me. And we've been making it pretty much ever since. Once COVID got out of the way, we've been filming him at home, and obviously everybody that he worked with or for, who loved the man, that we all did, and we put the film together, and then we try to sell it to television, and it's been really tough. We have got a deal. We've got a deal with, I can't say who at the moment because we haven't signed it yet, but there is a deal. But the archive is so expensive of Danny's career. I mean, he's played on over 1,000 albums. You can imagine there's a hell of a lot of stuff to find, and we just can't afford it all. So, but even the stuff we want to use is so expensive that we only have a small budget. The broadcaster's only paying not a lot of money; they're paying a nominal fee. So we went to go crowdfunding, and it's not something we really wanted to do, but there's been a good uptake on it. People love what Danny's done. They love him. And obviously, him dying last September has made it very poignant now. We managed to film him 8 weeks before he died. So we got pretty much the last words from him that he could manage. And he played his bass Victoria for us. And he said a few words to everybody on the film, which is very poignant now. So yeah, we got a really good film, and we're very pleased with it. We just got to finish it. We just got to get the archive in there and get the right music in and the right footage. So that's where we are.
Well, this is well worth it because you've interviewed so many people for this documentary, including one of former guests on this show, Joe Boyd. But there's just so
Yeah,
many people from Danny's career you've
yeah,
interviewed already.
yeah. Joe Boyd, Ralph McTell, Paul Weller, Richard Thompson, Eddie Reader. Who else we got in there? Do you know what? I've been speaking so long, I can't remember who else is in it. But yeah, load of. Oh, John Cameron. Oh, Harry Shearer, the Spinal Tap, who's a massive fan of Danny's and a friend of Danny's, and we managed to get Harry on the film. So yeah, we got a really good, real good mixture of people that worked with him, but people that loved him, and I think we got a nice rounded story. So it's not just about music; it's about the man really. And once you met the man, you were affected by the man, and we, as a film crew, all fell in love with him. And his wife Sylvie, who was like a mum, a grandmother really to us, because when we went down, they'd always provide you with cakes and soft drinks, and take an orange and apple home with you. They were fantastic people, really nice people. They just sort the earth. So we are so determined to finish this film and let everyone see it. And I think when people have seen it, they might know the music, they might not know the man, but they'll fall in love with him like we did.
And I think that's the thing, is people don't necessarily know Danny Thompson, but then you look at what he's done. He's played with Kate Bush on some classic records. He did the Thunderbirds theme tune. He's been on loads of things really recognizable.
I didn't know half of what, well, not even half, three quarters of what he did. Only when he started talking, I think he forgot most of it. To be honest, there's so much, and he played on so many sessions. I mean, congratulations by Cliff Richard to the Thunderbirds, to Riverman by Nick Drake. It's some career, and everything, every stop in between. He was still active in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s. It's folk, it's jazz. He always said he had no prejudice on music. He played if he liked it, if he liked the people, he'd play on it, and that really comes across in the film that we managed to get the diversity of what he played on, and it's not easy to do in an hour, but we've managed to do that. And obviously, he's a great raconteur, great storyteller, a funny man, without really being, not like a comedian, just a funny bones. He just told funny stories, and such a great career that yeah, it was a dream gig really.
Yeah, I never got to meet him, sadly, but I've spoken to a lot of the interviewees on this show. I've spoken to Jerry Douglas about him. I've spoken to Joe Boyd. I've spoken to Teddy Thompson about him. And he comes across just so funny and lovable.
Yeah, Joe was really instrumental in helping us with all the Nick Drake stuff, and obviously great insights being the producer of that, and been very supportive. In fact, Joe put a couple of quid into the crowdfunder. This is the great thing about it. These people really wanted Danny to be celebrated, and they've been really. I mean, they've been there from day one. The minute we reached out to them, none of them were charging a fee to do it. They all come along on their own steam. They come along. We're a small independent film company, so it's quite hard to make this stuff pay. So once you mention Danny's name, they were there like a shot. And as you say, the people you spoke to, I should think you very rarely get a bad word about him. He was just a very supportive and a lovable guy.
Well, when did you first come across his music? Because as we said, going right back to the 60s, we're talking Pentangle, we're talking, but then you go to the 80s and Kate Bush and stuff, and people will have discovered him through different major records.
Well, I was a little mod. I loved mod music in the sort of late 70s, early 80s. So I was a Jam Weller fan, a lunatic really, and but I heard Light Flight by Pentangle once, and I shouldn't have liked it because it's not what I was into. And we were quite tribal back then. We were very choosy and picky, and we're like, no, I can't like that. It's folk, but I loved it because I could hear the jazz in there. I love jazz, and I could hear the jazz in there. And I then saw them on the BBC archive thing somewhere down the line, maybe YouTube, I can't remember. And the big guy at the back always stood out to me. I thought, who is that guy? Because he looked a bit odd amongst these folkies. And then I heard him speak once on an interview or something. I thought, this guy's who is this guy? And then you do, obviously when the internet kicked in, you won't remember that, but we never used to have that at your age. So we were like, where are these people? We had to really buy the records to find them. And then when YouTube, Spotify, all that coming, I started digging deeper and deeper. And suddenly realised the amount of work that he's done, and I have got so many records that I didn't realise he was on the session. So, it was like, this is a fascinating story, and you say not many people know the man really. I mean, there's more and more stuff come out in the last few years where you can find out about him, but the work he did was so influential and so respected, and time again he worked with some great people, and they always requested him on the session. They always wanted him on it because he brought not only great musicianship to it, but he brought himself a character like that to it, which made everybody else relax in the studio, and I think produce better work really. I mean, we heard that on the film quite a few times that he turned up. They didn't really know him. Within 20 minutes, he was like a family friend. He's just so friendly.
Well, Mark is part of the team helping crowdfund for a brand new documentary about the legendary bass player that we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes, Danny Thompson. Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.